Days, Amy Oliver Show. House District 48 in southern part of Weld County. Actually, kind of been interesting. It's been redistricted. I think it goes up now. It kind of wraps around, comes up to Platteville, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll have my guest explain exactly the boundaries of it, certainly because he knows it. He's been walking it. Full disclosure, I endorsed my guest coming up in just a moment, and I did so because I disliked the tone and tenor that this campaign was taking, but we'll address that later on. I extended an invitation for both candidates to come on to the show, did that on May the 24th, and have subsequently only heard back from one candidate, and that is Jeffrey Hare, Republican candidate, looking for your vote on June 26th. That is when the primary is. That's the actual last day. It's an all mail-in election, so you got to get your ballots in. Jeff, thanks so much for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Amy. My pleasure to be on the show. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Tell me, first of all, I always ask this question. I never understand why anybody wants to get into elected office, even though I'm married to an elected official. But it is, you have to be motivated by a mission. What is it? Why do you want to represent House District 48?
Well, that's a good question. I've been sitting in the private sector for the last 20 years, and minding my own business, so to speak, as a small business owner, and just been frustrated with the level of representation in our government, and decided it was time for me to step up and make a difference for not only my kids' future, but all the folks of Weld County.
Explain the district boundaries of House District 48. It's changed a little bit.
Yeah, it has. It's moved from the southern part of the county further north. You made a correct assessment there. The southern boundaries is Platteville, extends all the way north through Greeley, including LaSalle, Gilchrist, Eaton, Alt, Pierce, the north end, Lucerne, and then includes the west portion of Greeley, Johnstown, and Milliken as well.
So it's a significant size.
It is. Yeah, I found that out actually wearing out my shoes walking the precinct. So it's definitely a lot of territory to cover.
Why do you feel like you're qualified to represent House District 48? What is it about? I know you're an accountant. How does that come into play?
Well, I feel like the biggest challenges we have in the state legislature, as well at the federal level, is getting control of spending. We've seen that by and large to be the major concern for folks. Spending ties into job creation and the size of government, regulation, and all that. So with my background as a CPA, I've been a small business owner for the last 13 years. I've been a chief financial officer of a $150 million company and a divisional control over a $1 billion-plus organization. It really makes me well qualified to get in there, to be frugal. So some people would call CPAs frugal. Some people would call them cheap. But I like to think that I could be cheap with other people's money, which is what we really should be doing as it relates to how we're running the government. So I think that makes me uniquely qualified to come in and try to figure out how to reduce the size of government.
Property rights has always been, and well, I would say certainly over the last few years, been an issue for you. You've actually worked with us at the Independence Institute on property rights issues. So you and I actually knew each other before you decided to enter into this race. We were familiar with each other because of the property rights issues and the couple of shows that I had done regarding property rights and really the growth of these small governments in Colorado. So I know that that's an issue for you. You actually recently received an endorsement from a group a huge supporter of property rights, and I think it's Colorado Realtors Association.
Correct, Colorado Association of Realtors, yep.
And so what is it about property rights? How did you get involved in that? You can just do it real briefly.
Sure. Real briefly, from a property rights perspective, metropolitan districts are sometimes set up, or sometimes they're referred to as special districts, but one particular kind is metropolitan districts. They're sometimes set up in a way that allows a small group of people, usually it's a large land developer, that can come in and essentially disenfranchise the people that live in that community and allow a taxation without representation scenario.
And so you started working on that. Is that something that you'll carry forward, or what issues are you passionate about that you'll take with you down to the state legislature?
Well, certainly metro districts is definitely an important issue. I kind of want to sidestep for just a second, Amy. I'm going to take you off topic here a little bit and address something that's been a criticism of my race, which is my support of the Second Amendment.
You know what? Hey, Jeff. Let me get to that in just a moment. We'll get to that. Okay? Let's get back to the issues that you're passionate about that I promise we'll get to the Second Amendment.
Okay, sounds good. Sorry about that.
That's all right. So that's okay. So tell me, what issues are you going to take with you besides property rights and fiscal policy? I know that, and you said spending. Is there anything else?
Well, the first, probably the biggest challenge for me, or the biggest topic I'm going to try to take on with our state treasurer Walker Stapleton, is para reform. That's the elephant in the room right now. Yeah,
you spent a lot of time down at the Independence Institute's candidates briefing and learned a little bit about that.
Yeah, I actually not only attended the Independence Institute's candidates briefing, but I've actually met with Walker Stapleton one-on-one on para reform, and the more I learn about it, the more I realize it is the elephant in the room that we've got to deal with at the state level.
Yeah, and one of the things that he has done, he's actually been frustrated with his own party. Walker Stapleton, a Republican, and who's been on the show a number of times, and has said he's frustrated with his own party because there are people within the Republican Party that don't have the courage to address this. They're afraid of addressing it. So you don't find yourself in that situation being afraid, because you're going to get, the para folks are going to come after this hard.
Right. Well, I think it's the right thing to do, and that's what we need to do as legislators, is not what's popular with our constituency at times. We need to do what's right for the state, and para reform certainly falls into that category. It's absolutely critical that we get a handle on the growth of para and the underfunding of it.
Okay, let's get to a couple of other issues. Give me your stance on the Second Amendment.
Well, I would say I'm as strong as anybody is on that issue, and I've actually been highly criticized for that topic. But I wanted to address the specifics of the Second Amendment. I mean, there's a lot of generalities that people can say, can you do this or that? I think what's important for people to ask is, what bills would you support or not support? So just briefly, I've gone through all the bills that were submitted in the House and the Senate this last year, and there's not all of these bills I would have supported and voted for.
So, for instance, Make My Day Better. Does a business owner have the right to defend him or herself? Would you support a Make My Day Better law?
That is correct. Yeah, I think that was 1088, House Bill 1088, if I remember correctly.
So you're a yes on that. Is there any part of concealed carry that concerns you, or is there anything with Colorado gun law that concerns you?
No, I would have supported all the legislation this year. The only one thing that I think we need to do that hasn't been done is try to get the concealed carry firmly implanted in the state constitution.
Explain that a little more.
Well, there's actually one citizens initiative this year that's trying to do that. The language in the state constitution implies that concealed carry is not permissible. It is something that's been passed by the state legislature, so we have a legislative right or statutory right to concealed carry, but it's not explicitly stated giving us that right in the Constitution. And obviously, we'd much rather have a constitutional right than a statutory right.
Well, I'll let you deal with the nuances of that should you get down to the state legislature. Because I think most people honestly believe, okay, I can conceal carry, I can just do that. But you can open carry in Colorado.
That's correct. Yeah, we have the right to open carry without permit, and right now, statutorily, we have the right to carry, to conceal carry with a permit.
Okay. Tell you what, Jeff, we're going to take a quick break. Coming back, there are two other issues that I want to talk about. One is you also got an endorsement from somebody that I have the utmost respect. You thought my husband, no, but you all, of course, and part of that is your stance on concealed carry and your Second Amendment, looking to not just support but also advance the Second Amendment. But Dennis Hoshiko, certainly somebody that one of the gentlest souls, one of the kindest people, one of the best people that I know has endorsed you. And I want to ask you why he has endorsed you, because this gets to another issue that you've been criticized about, and this is the life issue, pro-life. 10:16 the time. We're going to take a quick break here on the Amy Oliver Show and then back with more of our conversation with Jeffrey Hare.